Welcome again. In this lesson, we are now going to share the preface for the book, The Origin and Sources of Hell. We're going to share the preface now of the book, Origin and Sources of Hell. We're explaining why we wrote the book. Thank you very much.
Preface. I hope that I can still have the love of the saints after they read this thesis. I am sincere and am open to anyone who can explain and prove this doctrine from the scriptures to me with scriptures that are really in context. I also represent a silent host of other apostolic scholars who, for the fear of being misunderstood, have not gone public in their claim that the doctrine of hell is from misreading the scriptures and not the teaching of the Bible. There are lots of apostolic scholars who believe this but are not ready to go public for the sake of being misunderstood and labeled as heretics. Hypothesis. In here, I present the following hypothesis for your consideration. The aim of this book is to show in the scriptures that the idea of an eternally burning literal fire, with people in it burning throughout eternity, is unscriptural, unapostolic, and anti-gospel. And to expose the strategy of Satan to use this idea to mock the complete victory of Jesus Christ in annihilating all things which were caused by the fall, such that nothing like this will be left over or enter into the eternal state. The main point of this study is not to say that the wicked will not be judged, but to prove that their judgment does not carry over into the eternal state. Their judgment will be completed and finalized before the new heaven and new earth ensue. We do not teach that everyone, including the devil, will be saved like the universalist, but rather they shall suffer eternally terminating fire of annihilation. They will be no more. It is my intent that this study will either strengthen us on our traditional hell dogma or open our eyes and enlighten us. You will be asked to decide which one of these is needed after you read this book. Those who go into this study must realize the importance of knowing the history and development of the hell teaching and know that we will not be able to evaluate it apart from scrutinizing its sources. We must realize that the traditional perspective of a fire where people will burn forever is a made-up one that is inundated and impressed in the back of our minds before we read one source for this idea. By habit we read all of the passages where the English word hell has been put by the 15th century English translators as a literal lake of fire that burns throughout eternity. From this background, we automatically read the passages inducing that idea into the interpretation. We do not let the context of the passage define the meaning of the word hell with that kind of preset inductive perspective. Therefore, we miss the meaning of the word hell in the context. The cause for this inductive approach to interpretation is that the entire church world, mostly in the West, has been subliminally indoctrinated with that idea and image whenever the word hell is read or said. For that reason, in this book we share the research results of a study conducted to find the true meaning of the words hell, flame, unquenchable fire, eternal fire, as they were used in the speech of Jesus, the speech of John the Baptist, used by the Apostle Peter in his epistle, and in the writings of John the Revelated in the book of Revelation. Thus, this research shows that in no case in the scriptures is it meant an everlasting fire burning people in the afterlife of eternity, as the traditional image of a burning fire has been so inundated in the minds of Western theologians. Pre-reading guide to understanding scriptures with the word hell in them. When reading passages in the Bible with words related to fire like hell, flame, unquenchable fire, or words like them that mention fire or some kind of burning, A good rule of thumb for proper exegesis is to recognize that that word or phrase does not automatically mean the idea of hell, as the Catholics who got the idea from Greek philosophy and mythology mean. They erroneously mean a literal fire that burns people for eternity. But to get the word's real meaning, the word has to be defined in the context of the passage where it is found. Therefore, it is necessary to know when these words are being used figuratively, symbolizing an idea like judgment, or purging, like in the unquenchable fire mentioned by John the Baptist when he described what the Messiah would do to the rejecting Jews, which he called the chaff in Matthew 3:12, or the fire that Jesus says the unfruitful branches are thrown into in St. John 15, or the annihilation symbolized by the lake of fire in Rev 20:10, also like the discomfort in the flame that the rich man was in the parable of the rich man and Lazarus, and the destructive judgment of God on the devil and his angels symbolized by eternal fire in Matt 25:41. We have to know what those fires and burnings mean. And we have to know if it is literal fire, like in 2 Peter 3:8-17 about the purging burning of the earth at the end of the world in preparation of the new heaven and earth, and in Jude 1:6-7 about the literal fire that consumed Sodom and Gomorrah, or if it is not literal but figurative, as in Rev 20:10 in the lake that burns with fire, which symbolizes all things in Adam's world being annihilated and done away with, making way for the new Rev 21:1. It is rather interesting to find that in none of the passages in the entire Bible that have any word related to fire, flames, burning, in them, whether symbolic or literal, mean an eternal fire that burns throughout eternity with people in it for punishment. This you will see as you engage in this research that proves that idea is not found anywhere in the scriptures. There are many passages that the 15th century translators put the word hell in, but none of them have the context of an eternal fire which burns people throughout eternity. In order to get the exact meaning of any of these passages, we must be able and willing to differentiate the contexts of passages with these words in them. Because by not differentiating the contexts is how the hell doctrine got stuck in our theology. Most theologians irresponsibly and illegitimately lump all of these passages together, regardless to their different contexts, in one basket and call it hell. This is how they put the stain of the image of hell in the fabric of Western theology. As you search each passage in the Bible where the word hell has been put by the translators, you will find that there is not one passage in the Bible that has the concept of the hell that the Catholics got from the pagans as its context. Table of Contents. Chapter 1: The meaning of the word hell in Jesus' teaching. Chapter 2: The Gehenna Hell Judgments. Chapter 3: The context of the Gehenna Hell passages. Chapter 4: Everlasting, Eternal, and Forever. Chapter 5: The Lake that Burns with Fire and Brimstone. Chapter 6: The Eternal State. Chapter 7: Weeping and Gnashing of Teeth. Chapter 8: The Rich Man and Lazarus. Chapter 9: The Worm that Never Dies and the Fire that is Not Quenched. Chapter 10: The Body and the Soul Destroyed in Hell. Chapter 11: The Fire Prepared for the Devil and his Angels. Chapter 12: Hell is not in the original text of the Bible. Chapter 13: The Second Death. Chapter 14: The Immortal Soul Theory. Chapter 15: History of the Hell Doctrine. Chapter 16: Questions and Answers about the Hell Doctrine. Endnotes. Bibliography. About the author. Chapter 1. Meaning of the word hell in Jesus' teaching. What did Jesus mean by the word hell during his ministry? Did Did Jesus mean the endless suffering of being in fire forever and ever when he used the word hell?